I guess the story starts with a job. A new job, actually. It was 2017, and I had just landed a position at a tech company in Silicon Valley. I was 32, fresh off a layoff from a smaller startup that couldn't keep its head above water. The new company, tech giant Inco, was a big player in the software development world, and I was excited about the opportunities it presented. The job was a huge step up from my previous position. As a senior software engineer, I was responsible for leading a team working on a new project management tool. The salary was impressive, the benefits were excellent, and the company culture was something I had only read about in tech blogs. Open workspaces, free gourmet lunches, on-site gym, the works. It felt like I had made it. My wife Emily was thrilled for me. She worked as a freelance graphic designer, mostly from home. Her schedule was flexible, which made it easier for her to manage our household while I focused on my new job. We had been married for 8 years, and although we had our ups and downs, I thought we were in a good place. We didn't have any kids, a decision we had made early in our marriage so we could focus on our careers and enjoy our time together. The first few months at Tech Giant were a whirlwind. I was learning the ropes, getting to know my team, and diving into the complex world of project management software. I often worked late into the night, something Emily understood and supported. We would talk about our days over dinner, and I would tell her about the latest challenges and breakthroughs at work. She would share her own work stories, though they were often less exciting than mine. It was around this time that Emily started taking on more freelance projects. She had landed a big contract with a marketing firm in San Francisco, which required her to attend more meetings and work longer hours. I was happy for her. It was a great opportunity, and I knew how much she enjoyed her work. But it also meant that we were both busier than ever, and our time together became more limited. Despite our hectic schedules, we made an effort to keep our weekends sacred. We would go hiking in the nearby hills, have lazy brunches at our favorite cafe, and spend Sunday afternoons lounging on the couch, binge-watching our favorite shows. It was our way of reconnecting after a long week. Looking back, I realized that things started to change gradually. Emily became more distant, more preoccupied. She was constantly on her phone, checking emails and messages, even during our weekend outings. I brushed it off, attributing it to her increased workload. After all, I was often guilty of the same thing. But there was something different about her. A restlessness, a distraction that I couldn't quite put my finger on. One Friday evening, I came home from work to find Emily dressed up, ready to go out. She had a business meeting with the marketing firm, she explained. They were launching a new campaign, and she needed to be there. I didn't think much of it. She kissed me on the cheek and left, leaving me to heat up some leftovers for dinner. It wasn't the first time she had an evening meeting, and it certainly wouldn't be the last. But something about that night stuck with me. Maybe it was the way she seemed overly excited about a business meeting, or the way she lingered in front of the mirror, adjusting her hair and makeup. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to it. The next morning, Emily was unusually cheerful. She told me the meeting went well, and that the campaign was off to a great start. She spent most of the day working in her home office, and I spent mine catching up on some reading. We didn't talk much, and by the time evening rolled around, she seemed tired and withdrawn again. Over the next few weeks, Emily's evening meetings became more frequent. She was often out late, sometimes not coming home until after midnight. I tried to be understanding, reminding myself that she was working hard and that her career was important to her. But the nagging feeling that something was off persisted. It was a Tuesday evening when the first real crack appeared. I had come home early, hoping to surprise Emily with dinner. I had picked up her favorite sushi and was setting the table when her phone buzzed on the counter. I glanced at the screen and saw a message from someone named Mark. It was a simple message. "Can't wait to see you tonight." My heart sank. I didn't know any Mark, at least not one that Emily had ever mentioned. I picked up the phone, my hands shaking. I knew it was wrong to invade her privacy, but I couldn't help myself. I opened the message thread and saw a series of texts, some mundane, others flirtatious. It was clear that this wasn't just a business relationship. When Emily came home that night, I confronted her. I asked her who Mark was and why he was so eager to see her. Dear viewers, more than 90% watch my content without subscribing. If you still have not subscribed, then I ask you to do so. For me, this is the best motivation to continue. She looked surprised, then angry. She accused me of snooping, of not trusting her. We argued for hours, our voices rising and falling as we rehashed old grievances and hurled new accusations. In the end, she admitted that Mark was a client from the marketing firm. They had started seeing each other outside of work, meeting for drinks and dinner. She insisted it was harmless, just business. But I knew better. The way she avoided my gaze, the way she fidgeted with her wedding ring, it all pointed to something more. The next few days were a blur. I threw myself into my work, trying to drown out the thoughts that raced through my mind. Emily and I barely spoke, each of us retreating into our own worlds. I wanted to believe her, to trust that she was telling the truth, but the seed of doubt had been planted, and it grew with each passing day. One night I decided to follow her. She had another meeting with Mark, and I couldn't stand the uncertainty any longer. I waited until she left, then grabbed my keys and drove to the address she had mentioned. It was a trendy bar downtown, the kind of place we used to go to when we were younger, before life got so complicated. I parked a few blocks away and walked to the bar, my heart pounding in my chest. I felt like a character in a bad detective novel, sneaking around in the shadows. I found a spot near the entrance where I could see inside without being noticed. It didn't take long to spot them. Emily and Mark were sitting at a table near the back, their heads close together. They were laughing, talking animatedly. She looked happier than I had seen her in months. I watched as he reached across the table and took her hand, and she didn't pull away. I stayed there for what felt like hours, unable to move, unable to think. Eventually, they got up to leave, and I followed them outside. They walked to his car, parked in the lot across the street. I saw them kiss, a brief but unmistakable kiss before she got into the passenger seat. That was the moment everything changed. I drove home in a daze, my mind racing. I knew I couldn't confront her again, not yet. I needed to figure out what to do, how to handle this. I felt betrayed, angry, and helpless all at once. The next few weeks were some of the hardest of my life. Emily continued to see Mark, and I continued to pretend I didn't know. I needed time to process, to decide what my next steps would be. I considered counseling, talking to a lawyer, even leaving her. But every option seemed overwhelming, and I couldn't bring myself to make a decision. One evening, I came home to find Emily packing a suitcase. She looked up when I walked in, her eyes red and puffy from crying. She told me she was leaving, that she needed some time to think. She was going to stay with a friend for a while, she said. I didn't ask which friend. As she walked out the door, I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. Part of me wanted to beg her to stay, to work things out. But another part of me knew that this was inevitable, that our marriage had been unraveling for months, if not years. In the days that followed, I tried to keep myself busy. I went to work, hung out with friends, tried to maintain some semblance of normalcy. But the house felt empty without her, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I had failed. Failed as a husband, failed to see the signs, failed to save our marriage. Emily and I kept in touch, mostly through text messages. She told me she was staying with a friend in the city, that she needed time to figure things out. I told her I understood, that I was here if she needed me. But the truth was, I didn't know what I wanted. Part of me hoped she would come back, that we could work things out. But another part of me knew that things would never be the same. As the weeks turned into months, I started to accept that our marriage was over. I filed for divorce, a decision that was both painful and necessary. Emily agreed, and we began the process of untangling our lives. It's been over a year since Emily left, and life has slowly started to move on. I still work at Tech Giant, still lead my team on the project management tool. I've made new friends, found new hobbies, and even started dating again. But the scars of that time remain, a reminder of a love lost and lessons learned. I don't hate Emily, not anymore. I understand that people change, that relationships evolve. She wasn't happy, and neither was I. We were both trying to find something that was missing, and in the end, we found it in different places. The story of my wife's betrayal is one of pain and heartbreak, but it's also a story of growth and resilience. It's taught me to be more mindful, more present, more honest with myself and with others. And while I wouldn't wish the experience on anyone, I'm grateful for the lessons it has brought. After the initial shock of the betrayal and the subsequent separation, I found myself in a strange place. It was as if I was living someone else's life, going through the motions but not really feeling connected to anything. The days blurred together, and the routine of work became both a distraction and a comfort. Tech giant Inc. continued to demand most of my attention. The project management tool we were developing was nearing its final stages, and the pressure was on to deliver a product that would set us apart from the competition. My team was talented and dedicated, and their enthusiasm helped pull me out of my personal doldrums. I buried myself in the work, often staying late at the office and bringing tasks home to fill the empty hours. Despite my efforts to focus on work, there were still moments when the weight of everything would hit me. Sitting alone in our now half-empty house, I would sometimes find myself staring at old photos of Emily and me, trying to understand where it all went wrong. But there were no easy answers, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized that our problems had been building for a long time. The divorce process, while painful, was relatively amicable. Emily and I had built a life together, and untangling it was no small feat. We divided our assets, sold the house, and went our separate ways. It was during this time that I decided to move closer to the office. I found a small apartment in Mountain View, a cozy one-bedroom place that felt more like a bachelor pad than a home, but it suited my needs. My new apartment was modern and minimalist, a stark contrast to the house Emily and I had shared. It was a clean slate, a place where I could start over. I spent the first few weeks decorating it to my taste, filling it with sleek furniture and tech gadgets. It was a distraction, but it also gave me a sense of control in a life that felt increasingly out of my hands. Socially, I had always been more of an introvert, but the divorce pushed me further into my shell. My friends were supportive, inviting me out for drinks and dinners, but I often declined. It wasn't that I didn't appreciate their efforts, I just didn't have the energy to pretend that everything was okay. I did, however, reconnect with an old college friend, Dave, who had also gone through a tough breakup. We started meeting up once a week for beers and to watch the latest game. It was a small comfort, having someone who understood what I was going through. One Friday evening, a few months after the divorce was finalized, Dave suggested we go to a tech networking event in San Francisco. He argued that it would be good for me to get out, meet new people, and maybe even make some professional connections. I was hesitant at first, but eventually I agreed. The event was held at a sleek downtown venue, filled with startup founders, investors, and tech enthusiasts. It was a buzzing hive of energy and ambition, and I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety as I navigated the crowd. Dave introduced me to a few people, and I soon found myself engrossed in conversations about the latest industry trends and innovations. As the night went on, I found myself talking to a woman named Sarah. She was a product manager at a fast-growing tech startup, and we bonded over our shared experiences in the industry. She was smart, funny, and easy to talk to, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a spark of genuine interest. We exchanged contact information, and over the next few weeks, we started meeting up for coffee and lunch. Sarah was a breath of fresh air, a reminder that life could still hold new and exciting possibilities. She had a way of making me laugh, of seeing the brighter side of things. Our relationship developed slowly, and I appreciated the pace. I wasn't ready to jump into anything serious, and she understood that. As Sarah and I grew closer, I began to open up about my past. I told her about Emily, about the betrayal and the pain that followed. She listened without judgment, offering support and understanding. It was a stark contrast to the anger and bitterness that had characterized my conversations with Emily during our last months together. Work continued to be demanding, but I found that having someone like Sarah in my life made it easier to cope with the stress. She had her own busy schedule, and we both respected each other's commitments. Our relationship was built on mutual respect and a shared understanding of the challenges we faced in our careers. It was during this time that I realized how much I had changed. The betrayal and the divorce had left their mark, but they had also forced me to confront parts of myself that I had been avoiding. I started seeing a therapist, someone to help me navigate the complex emotions and unresolved issues that had surfaced. Therapy was hard, but it was also healing. It gave me tools to better understand myself and my relationships. One of the most significant insights I gained was the realization that Emily's betrayal was not just about her infidelity. It was about the breakdown of our communication, the gradual drift that neither of us had addressed. We had both been so focused on our careers and our individual goals that we had lost sight of each other. It was a painful truth, but it was also a liberating one. It meant that the failure of our marriage was not entirely my fault, nor was it entirely hers. It was a shared responsibility, a consequence of our choices and priorities. As I continued to rebuild my life, I found solace in new routines and hobbies. I started running again, something I had abandoned during the chaos of my marriage. I joined a local running club and began training for a marathon. The physical exertion was therapeutic, a way to channel my energy and clear my mind. I also rediscovered my love for music. I bought a guitar and started taking lessons, something I'd always wanted to do but never had the time for. Music became a new outlet, a way to express emotions that words couldn't capture. Through it all, Sarah remained a steady presence. Dear viewers, I ask you to subscribe to the channel under this video. I will be very grateful to you. Our relationship evolved from casual lunches to more intimate dinners, from friendly chats to deeper conversations about our hopes and fears. She became a confidant, a partner in ways that I hadn't expected. One evening, after a particularly grueling day at work, I invited Sarah over for dinner. We cooked together, something simple but satisfying. As we sat on the couch sipping wine and talking about our days, I realized how much my life had changed in such a short time. I'd gone from a place of despair and uncertainty to one of hope and possibility. Sarah looked at me, her eyes reflecting the warmth and kindness that I had come to cherish. "You've come a long way," she said, her voice soft but confident. I nodded, feeling a lump in my throat. "I couldn't have done it without you," I replied, meaning every word. She smiled, reaching out to take my hand. "We're in this together," she said. And in that moment I knew it was true. The road to healing was long and winding, but I was no longer walking it alone. I had found someone who understood me, who accepted my past and believed in my future. And for the first time in a long while, I felt at peace. As my relationship with Sarah deepened, I began to find a new rhythm in life. It wasn't that the pain of the past disappeared, it was that I learned to live with it, to let it be a part of me without defining me. Sarah and I spent more time together, exploring the city, trying new restaurants, and even taking weekend trips to Napa Valley and Lake Tahoe. Each adventure brought us closer, weaving new memories that began to overshadow the old ones. My work at Tech Giant continued to be a major focus. The project management tool we had been developing was finally launched, and it was met with positive reviews and strong user adoption. It was a milestone for my career, and the success brought a sense of accomplishment that I hadn't felt in a long time. The company recognized my efforts, and I was promoted to a director position, overseeing multiple teams and projects. With the promotion came more responsibility and a heavier workload, but I was better equipped to handle it now. I had learned to delegate more effectively, to trust my team, and to find a balance between work and personal life. Sarah played a significant role in helping me maintain that balance. Her encouragement and support were constant, and she reminded me to take breaks, to not let work consume me as it had in the past. Our relationship wasn't without its challenges. There were times when the memories of my past would resurface, bringing with them a wave of doubt and fear. Sarah was patient, but there were moments when my hesitation and guardedness tested her. We had our arguments, our misunderstandings, but we always found a way to communicate and resolve them. The honesty and openness we shared were crucial in navigating the complexities of our relationship. One of the most profound moments in our relationship came about a year after we started dating. We were sitting on the balcony of my apartment watching the sunset. The conversation turned to our future, to what we wanted in the long term. It was a topic we had touched on before, but this time it felt more significant, more real. "I want to be with you," Sarah said, her voice steady and sincere. "But I also want to know where you see this going." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words. "I want the same thing," I replied. "I want a future with you, but I also want to be honest about where I am. I'm still healing, still figuring things out. I don't want to rush into anything without being sure that I'm ready." She nodded, her eyes reflecting a mix of understanding and concern. "I get that, and I appreciate your honesty. But I need to know that we're moving forward, that we're building something together." "I promise," I said, taking her hand. "I'm committed to us. and I'm willing to take the steps we need to make this work. It was a turning point, a moment of clarity and commitment. We both knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but we were ready to face it together. As the months passed, we continued to build our life together. We moved in together, finding a larger apartment that felt like a fresh start for both of us. We made it our own, blending our tastes and creating a space that felt like home. My relationship with my ex-wife Emily also evolved during this time. We maintained a civil, if distant, communication, primarily to finalize the remaining details of our divorce. There were moments of tension, but also moments of closure. We both acknowledged our mistakes, our failures, and the ways we had hurt each other. It wasn't about forgiveness, but about understanding and moving on. One day, I received an unexpected email from Emily. She had moved to a new city and was starting a new job. She sounded happy, more at peace than she had been in a long time. She apologized for the pain she had caused and wished me well. It was a small gesture, but it meant a lot. It was a final chapter in our story, a way to put the past to rest and look forward to the future. Meanwhile, my relationship with Sarah continued to grow. We talked about our dreams, our goals, and the life we wanted to build together. We discussed marriage and family, and while we didn't make any immediate plans, we both knew it was something we wanted in the future. Work remained demanding, but I had learned to set boundaries, to prioritize my personal life alongside my professional ambitions. I continued to see my therapist, working through the lingering issues and ensuring that I was in a healthy place emotionally. Sarah and I also made time for fun and relaxation. We traveled, exploring new places, and creating memories that strengthened our bond. We took cooking classes, attended concerts, and even started a small garden on our balcony. It was the little things, the shared experiences, that brought us closer and made our relationship stronger. One of the most memorable trips we took was a week-long vacation to Hawaii. It was a chance to escape the pressures of work and everyday life, to relax and enjoy each other's company. We spent our days lounging on the beach, snorkeling in the clear blue waters, and hiking through lush forests. The beauty and tranquility of the islands provided a perfect backdrop for reflection and connection. One evening, as we sat on the beach watching the sunset, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. For the first time in a long while, I felt truly content. I turned to Sarah, taking her hand in mine. "Thank you," I said, my voice filled with emotion. She looked at me, her eyes questioning. "For what?" "For being here, for believing in us, for helping me find my way back." She smiled, squeezing my hand. "I'm glad we found each other." As the sun dipped below the horizon, I realized how far I had come. The betrayal and pain of the past were still there, but they no longer defined me. I had found a new path, a new purpose, and a new love. And while the future remained uncertain, I knew that with Sarah by my side, I was ready to face whatever came next. The next few years were a period of growth and transformation. Sarah and I continued to build our life together, and our relationship deepened with each passing day. We navigated the challenges of balancing our careers with our personal lives, supporting each other through the highs and lows. In 2021, we decided to take a significant step forward. After much discussion and consideration, we bought a house together in Palo Alto. It was a charming mid-century modern home with plenty of space for us to grow. The process of buying and moving into the house was stressful, but it was also exciting. It felt like a new chapter, a solid foundation for our future. We spent the first few months decorating and renovating, making the house truly ours. We turned one of the rooms into a shared office space, another into a cozy reading nook, and the backyard into a beautiful garden where we could relax and entertain. It was a labor of love, and each project brought us closer. In the midst of all this, my career at tech giant continued to flourish. The company had launched several successful products, and I was given more responsibilities and opportunities to lead. I was proud of the work we were doing and the impact we were making in the tech industry. But I also made sure to maintain the balance I had worked so hard to achieve. I took time off when needed, spent weekends with Sarah, and continued to pursue my hobbies. Sarah's career was also thriving. She had been promoted to a senior product manager position at her company, and she was making a name for herself in the industry. We celebrated each other's successes, always cheering each other on and providing support during challenging times. One of the most significant moments in our relationship came on a quiet Sunday morning. We were sitting in the garden, sipping coffee, and enjoying the peacefulness of the day. Sarah looked at me, a serious expression on her face. "I've been thinking a lot about us," she said, her voice steady. I felt a knot of anxiety in my stomach, but nodded for her to continue. "I love you," she said, her eyes holding mine, "and I want to spend the rest of my life with you." My heart swelled with emotion. "I love you too," I replied, taking her hand. She smiled, a hint of nervousness in her eyes. "I know we've talked about the future, about marriage and family. I want to know if you're ready to take that step." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words. "I am," I said, my voice firm. "I've been thinking about it too, and I know that you're the person I want to spend my life with." Her smile widened, and she leaned in to kiss me. "Then let's do it," she whispered. "Let's make it official." In the months that followed, we planned our wedding. We decided on a small, intimate ceremony with close family and friends. It was a beautiful day, filled with love and joy. As we exchanged vows, I felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey that had brought us to this moment. It hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. After the wedding, we took a honeymoon trip to Europe, exploring the historic cities and picturesque landscapes. It was a magical time, a celebration of our love and commitment. We returned home with a renewed sense of purpose and excitement for the future. As the years went by, we continued to build our life together. We faced challenges and setbacks, but we always found a way to overcome them. We supported each other, learned from each other, and grew together. Our love deepened, and our bond strengthened. In 2023, we welcomed a new addition to our family. Our daughter Lily was born in the spring, bringing with her a sense of wonder and joy. Becoming parents was a profound and transformative experience. It brought new challenges and responsibilities, but it also brought a deeper sense of connection and purpose. Sarah and I navigated the ups and downs of parenthood, always working together as a team. We learned to balance our careers with the demands of raising a child, finding ways to support each other and share the load. Lily became the center of our world, a source of endless joy and inspiration. Looking back on the journey, I am filled with a sense of gratitude and pride. The pain of betrayal and the dissolution of my first marriage were devastating, but they also set me on a path of self-discovery and growth. They led me to Sarah, to a love that was built on trust, respect, and understanding. The story of my wife's betrayal is not just a story of heartbreak. It's a story of resilience, of finding the strength to move forward and rebuild. It's a story of new beginnings, of finding love, and building a life filled with hope and possibility. As I sit here, reflecting on the past and looking toward the future, I am reminded of the words we exchanged on our wedding day, in sickness and in health, in good times and in bad. Those words have taken on new meaning, a reminder of the journey we've traveled and the love that sustains us. Life is unpredictable, filled with challenges and uncertainties. But with Sarah by my side, I know that we can face whatever comes our way. We have built a life together, a life filled with love, laughter, and purpose. And for that, I'm eternally grateful.